2019. WHO predicts that half of everyone in the world at some point before they reach the age of 75 will experience mental health issues. And that is a huge number, right? That goes into the billions. What this session is about, I think that traditional approaches have to be sustained with holistic approaches, which are not usually identified or addressed. So in that sense, we not only treat mental health, but also enhance mental health ahead of time and then in the future, which means they are limiting our future potential. They tend to manifest as like strong, low emotions such as anger, depression, agitation. So anytime you feel any of these negative emotions, you're probably experiencing incompletion. And of course, completion is a mental state where we do not have these incompletions. It gives us more freedom, more empowerment in the present moment, seeing things while blindfolded, using the pineal gland. This actually has been...
please feel free to put them. We're also, time is moving quickly, so we're going to have to move fast. We have a lot to cover. So this presentation is brought to you by Nityananda Hindu University. I'm representing the research department of Nityananda Hindu University. And this is a university that is styled after the ancient, starting from birth as a yogi. He has achieved high consciousness and enlightenment and incarnation status. And from that space, he has reestablished the United States of KAILASA, which is a Hindu civilizational nation in service to Hinduism. It also has sovereign land as a sovereign state, also functions as a civilizational state, to Bhagavan Nityananda Parameshivam, sometimes as Swamiji, which is a way that we refer to him, which is an address of tremendous respect and tremendous affection because of the positivity he's brought to our life. So consciousness. So some of the programs that have been brought by Swamiji are going to have tremendous effects at the cellular and physiologic level. And then I'll be talking about those researches that have been done and then how it shows up in the mental health of participants, which you'll see some remarkable findings. And then we're going to talk about what is going on in the mind and brain and consciousness of Supreme Pandit of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Parameshivam, who I also call as Swamiji. And so the Dr. Rao, he drew blood and measured gene expression before and after the program. And they looked at hundreds of different genes being expressed, and they found huge changes in gene expression in multiple pathways. But the ones I'm going to highlight here are the pro-inflammatory pathways, which create inflammation in the system, which will, at the cellular level, be inflammation, but at the system-wide level will show up as stress and disease. Many of these pro-inflammatory pathways were down-regulated. And when I say down-regulated, it means like 2 to 7-fold in reduction of the proteins, of the gene products. And then the anti-inflammatory pathways advances in aging. The follow-up study was published in a journal called the Journal of Stem Cells. And based on the first study, they said, let's look at telomerase activity and let's look at peripheral blood stem cells. Telomerase is an enzyme that works to keep the cell genetically young. And many people know about telomeres. It's been very much talked about in the mainstream recently. The telomeres are electrical, but it was around that time, they measured mitochondrial metabolism through a test called the MTT assay, which is a surrogate for cellular viability, which is specifically a product of mitochondrial metabolism. So mitochondria are the organelles inside the cell that create power for the cell, energy for the cell. And so their metabolism was increased. This is actually not a typo. Overall sense of well-being. One is SF36, which looks at overall physical health and some aspects of mental health as well. And the last is MAAS, which looks at mindfulness, which is your ability to be present, right? Everyone is talking about mindfulness and being in the present moment. So we wanted to measure all these things in people before and after the program. Some of the people in the program had already done similar programs and taken the initiations, and some people were new. So it was a combination. It was and then we looked at anxiety. Above 8 is considered as an anxious person. The average in the US is around 6, so almost anxious. For the participants, have been basically from 4 to 2. So very, very far from anxious. Even before the program, people were better than the US average in terms of anxiety, which again may reflect their previous initiations and their connection with this enlightenment, really, really profound. And you can see again, if you look at the line graph and the bar graphs, everything's just going up. So really a profound sense of well-being from participating in this program. And both started off at 4.29 or 4.25, so almost at the level of a Zen meditator at the beginning. And again, this may reflect some people were already involved with this lifestyle, which supports a sense of mindfulness. But at the end, it went all the way up to 4.8, 4.65. Frontal lobes meet right at the area where the chakra of the third eye, as per Hindu structure, Hindu spiritual anatomy, right where that is, that area would light up in the brain when you would activate his third eye, which I think is really fascinating. And then on EEG, which measures brain activity, they found complete control over brainwave activity. He could just control his brainwaves at will. There was another doctor, a neuroscientist named Acosta Urquida, from Sound Health Designs in Wichita, and this was in 2005 and 2006. And they measured studied. Then this is the one that I think is most fascinating. There's a Dr. William Collins. This was done in 2005 in St. Louis. He's a neurofeedback researcher who was looking at EEG. And he noticed when he got a baseline reading, he kept changing the probes and changing the settings because he said there's almost no activity on the EEG as baseline. Means when he was sitting there in a calm state, the brain was just completely quiet electrically. There was very little activity, which we will posit will correlate with a low thoughts per second, very little mental activity. So he could completely kind of shut off the mind, and it would show up at the EEG level. That shocked the researcher. And then when he would go into, that's a goal of Vedic traditions, yogic traditions, Hinduism, and they transmit it to someone they're healing or a disciple or any other person, be like an initiation. It's putting them in the same brainwave state that's going to have profound effects on their well-being. This is extremely unusual. It seems as if his brain was changing with hundreds and thousands of nerves in the brain was being rewired. So again, it's a really remarkable thing. One thing that I'd also say is in the ashram, they've done again, when Swamiji is doing initiations to his disciples or people visiting his ashram as well, he puts their brain in gamma waves, high amplitude gamma waves. If you're like taking a quiz, doing a task, if you're at work doing a task that requires your mental activity, it's 13 to 25 hertz. So you'll notice this illustration doesn't have gamma waves. Part of that is because gamma waves, people didn't even know about them until relatively recently, because you normally cannot, in populations and individuals who have very little baseline gamma activity, they're much more likely to, in individuals who have a higher baseline, like very low levels I'm talking, that you need a QEEG to detect, they're not going to have dementia, Alzheimer's dementia. And even in animal models, they've showed if they can induce gamma waves, the plaxin tension. That itself is remarkable, and it speaks to the power of the programs and how the mental health of whole communities can be uplifted that way. What is even more exciting to me, and I've been personally had the opportunity to do EEGs, some of his very high-level disciples are developing this capacity, which means this level, which we're positing as a space of super consciousness. So I see this as progression in their capacity to reflect this state of consciousness in their spiritual growth. And so they would do this by connecting with Swamiji, connecting to a state of oneness, doing things like blindfold reading and materializing. These are yogic shaktis that are beyond the scope of this presentation. But while doing these things, they'll describe a very low TPS, which again, thought of sattvic diet and fasting. Later, another presentation is going to talk about these things. Detoxing with herbs. Puja is a ritualist connection to higher consciousness. Yoga pada, yoga and pranayamas and meditations and kriyas will be doing all of these experiential in this presentation. And then knowing pursuit of powerful cognitions means knowing yourself as a very powerful connected being.
Which actually denote that kind of a state, right? So there is a meditation. We just wanted to play a little video about a meditation that can help you get to that state and calm your mind down. Like very often we are...
Nothing can be compared to the unclutching. I'll just put the whole unclutching. Extremely powerful will persist. in you. Nothing can be. Compared to the unclutching process. That is creating, maintaining, destroying, fighting, engaging, all thought process. Unclutch from all thought process.
Use the word unclutch, and but after a little while, you can just unclutch without using that word itself. You would see that. So just close your eyes. We're going to play music for a little bit, and then just keep unclutching. Every time a thought comes, just unclutch without engaging with it. Awesome. One of the things that you would have noticed is while you're unclutching is your mind gets disengaged. As your mind gets disengaged from thoughts, we tend to listen to the outside sounds more clearly, like bell chiming.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Aran K. I'm a practicing neurologist in the U.S. In Augusta, Georgia. And I will be sharing a little bit about findings on neuroscience in depression, as well as positive findings in lifestyle measures such as yoga and meditation. So next slide. So the brain and the digestive system, which is two-way, which is really important in mental health. And it turns out lifestyle measure of diet is very crucial in mental health. So eating a Western diet has been associated with poor loss of brain cells in important areas of the brain, areas which regulate memory, learning, and emotion, like the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, which is really important for attention, planning, judgment, impulse control, the orbital frontal cortex, which is important in regulating our emotions. And it's not only about us, but it's how we bond with other people, how we interact with others, so social attachments. It turns out pain processing pathways are negatively impacting depression. And one way is maybe the cingulate cortex. And even our ability to empathize with others are affected due to loss of brain cells in the cingulate cortex. Also, depression negatively impacts the basal ganglia, which is a part of the brain involved in pathways for reward motive. Move on to the next slide. So what has been really, in a way, groundbreaking is that initially we thought that brain cells we have a limited number of brain cells or neurons, and once they're gone, they're gone. But it turns out certain practices, especially yoga and meditation, can actually lead to neurogenesis. We're actually generating new emotional awareness, processing of language and speech, as well as empathy. So being able to empathize with others and relate to others, interact with others. All of these areas are very important for that. And these are enhanced with increased amount of brain cells in yoga practitioners. Very interestingly, there's an area of the brain called amygdala, and this is involved in processing fear pathways. This is sometimes called it's a important part of our very primitive brain, which is there to protect us, but can become dysfunctional when we have emotional trauma and different sorts of mental disorders. And in fact, this area, interestingly, it ends up being a little bit reduced in volume, telling us that maybe yoga practitioners have lower levels of fear or tendency for fear. And we can move on to the next slide. So cortex is activated, is an important brain chemical called glutamate is released. And this then sends a signal to another part of the brain called the hypothalamus to release beta endorphins. Maybe you've heard about endorphins. These are chemicals which give us the sense of a euphoria or bliss, and may explain why many practitioners of meditation experience a sense of bliss during their meditation. Also, imaging studies have looked at the thickness of the cortex. This contains the brain cells or neurons. And it turns out which is important for helping us to have a sense of well-being. And this level is reduced in people who are depressed. But meditators at baseline have a higher level of serotonin. And it, in fact, further increases after a meditation session, which is very interesting. They also tend to have a lower level of norepinephrine. This is a brain chemical associated with anxiety. And they've been shown to have increased amounts of dopamine. And the GABA activity was boosted basically to the same level as people who were healthy and who did not have depression. So this is all very promising findings. You can move on to the next slide. I'll invite Dr. Pandav to discuss the next few slides.
So Dr. Pandav will discuss these slides quickly, and then we'll have a very short video and short discussion to follow. Thank you so much, Dr. Pandav.
Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, beans, and least amount of unprocessed food and meat. So this is what whole food plant-based diet is. We also call it sattvic diet. So what essentially this diet does is it is high in fiber, high in antioxidants, high in polyphenols. So basically what it does is it diseases and as well as the autoimmune diseases. So in nutshell, basically the healthy microbiome is caused by whole food plant-based diet. Next slide. This just goes over a few things. Microbiome, the gut plays an important role in the gut-brain axis, as I talked about, and it produces neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, glutamate, and microbial composition is crucial. Some contribute. Plant-based diet reduces inflammation, antioxidants, phytochemical, and promotes a balanced neurotransmitter system. Elimination of animal foods reduce inflammation, carcinogens, as I was telling you. People who ate raw fruits and vegetables versus cooked or canned fruits and vegetables had significant
and die, that gets recorded in that muscle memory and biomemory. When you eat that, you will fall into depression for a small reason. Your husband late from the office for 5 minutes is enough to make him as a late husband. Understand? No, for a very small reason, you fall into depression because your biomemory is prone to depression. Understand, when you are eating the dead animal's flesh, you are also eating the muscle memory, biomemory recorded in it. That becomes part of you. You become prone to that pain.
Which are vital for mental health. And the plant-based diet also improves that brain-gut chemistry to improve mental health. So there's various lifestyle practices in Hinduism, which Swamiji is reviving and promoting. And he's unique in promoting some of these lifestyles, such as Nirahara Samyama, and the importance of certain herbs or aushadas for detoxification.
Good diet is almost like pre-digested. So your body doesn't use energy to digest it. So it brings your energy level up, and it has effects at physical plane, mental plane, emotional plane, spiritual plane. That's what I found. So the least is, you lose weight, and but other than that, so emotionally you feel much better.
Definitely there. And it turned out it really wasn't as difficult as one thought, after the first day or two, it actually was not difficult to sustain. And definitely the mind was quieter. People around me noticed. I mean, even your skin will start to glow. You'll even appear younger.
So I had to take antihistamine all the time. And it actually affected my work style as well. So it was, I think, about 12 years ago, Swamiji introduced the Nirahara Samyama, 12, 13 years ago. The first time I did the Nirahara Samyama, after that, it's completely gone. I don't take any antihistamines. I'm completely...
12 components, 12 aspects of yoga, which is very unique. And of course, other yogas are also part of this lifestyle. And so thank you so much, you guys, for this discussion. We could discuss so much longer. We've met some time constraints. So we're going to move on to the next session, which is a pranayama breathing exercise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But we can try a couple of pranayama techniques that can work for you. And these are simple techniques that can cool us down, make us reduce the anxiety, de-stress us. And so I'm going to teach you a couple of pranayama techniques, which will be actually useful later when we go further in this program. So simple technique is called Shitali Pranayama, and references are given here. These are all scriptural references. You can search for them online. You can actually find them. Shitali Pranayama is a technique to really cool down and de-stress. The deeper you do the inhalation, the deeper the cooling happens. And you will actually feel it in your chest, in the middle of your chest. If you don't feel it, try breathing in a little bit more deeper. Continue doing this. And once you've taken a deep breath, close the left nostril and then breathe out through the right nostril. And after you breathe out through your right nostril completely, typically you take almost twice as If breathing out makes you feel stressed because I'm asking you to breathe out twice as long, you don't have to do it. Just breathe out till the count of 6 and intensely without stopping. As long as possible, just hum. And then when your humming stops, take a quick breath, let the natural breath happen, and then start the humming again. So for example, it sounds like this. Now, while you're okay, relax. How many of you could feel the humming reverberate inside your head even after the humming, you stop humming? Right? You would feel that humming inside your face and in your chest. So the more you practice it, if you do it for like 21 minutes, this humming is a very intense exercise. Great. So these are things you can practice pretty much anywhere. And these are all AI. I have practiced AI for a very long time, and I've applied AI to multiple different domains. And most recently, I've applied AI to education. And AI is an amazing area which is useful in mental health. Next slide. And the key challenge here is scale. Like sustainable mental health requires scale. And millions need help with anxiety, loneliness, and depression. But the primary challenge is lack of access to resources. And it's like the people who are in poverty, the people who really mental health access to people. Let's go to the next slide. Today's AI is actually super powerful. It can be very conversational in asking questions and getting answers. And it can be very personal. It can be personalized without storing personal information. And if you have availability, like access to a phone, a smartphone, amazing resource that is available to everyone. This uses the entire spiritual resources of the world, especially the teachings of Swamiji. Swamiji is essentially teaching the fundamentals of enlightenment science, or the science of happiness, as taught by Hinduism. So this Nityananda.ai has the entire access for living, like authenticity. Authenticity is living to the highest potential. Responsibility is feeling like everything in and around you is under your control. Being integrated is all about being integrated to your thoughts and actions. Enriching is about making sure others are in this state of enlightenment along with you. And completion is what I defined before, right? So it uses these principles to help walk through someone who thinks they are a bad mother because they're not, in a self-reflective way. How to introspect into the source of where this challenge comes from. Why do you feel unimportant? Why do you think your sister should do what you want to do, right? And encourages open communication, understanding that you may not be able to spend too much time, but think about it as quality time, and also cultivating this idea of self-worth, which can lead to a challenge. Let's move on to the next section. Okay, now I hand it over to Dr. Prema Kodanraman to talk about women's issues.
The incidence of mental illness among women. 1 in 5 women experience a mental health issue every year. Women are diagnosed with anxiety and depression twice as men. 25.7 stress, anxiety, and depression. Gender-based violence, women are more likely to experience domestic violence, sexual assault, and emotional abuse. Social pressures and roles, women often face societal expectations to fulfill multiple roles like caregiver, professional, and homemaker. And body image issues, psychotherapy is mainly for the mild problems. It's called a talk therapy or counseling. And medications can be antidepressant, anti-anxiety medications, being causes at different levels. In many parts of the world, access to mental health are very limited because it's very expensive. And social stigma around mental illnesses also prevent people to seek the treatment. So by knowing the different reasons for women's mental illness and also the available, the second one by His Divine Holiness, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, his presidential address on November 7th, 2021, very powerful words about women. Women, by their very DNA, have the capacity and groundedness to hold an issue. While KAILASA's policy stipulates that 33% legislative positions should be held by women, currently women make up 90% of the governance in KAILASA. So where are women on planet Earth? At social prominence, Swamiji has worked tirelessly for gender equality, not only in the economic society, but also in the spiritual and religious realm. The Sannyas Sampradaya, the monastic indigenous women to become again to get financial freedom and emotional support. EN Pregnancy is a great program where it supports pregnant women for having a painless delivery and a blissful birthing experience. So by looking at all this, empowering women's...
And next word, awaken. Only the feminine energy, sacred feminine need to be awakened. You already have too much masculine. The whole world is suffering with too much masculine energy. Masculine energy. If at all politics can be handed over to women, so much good will have happened to the human society, human civilization. Unfortunately, see, if it was handed over to women.
So in summary on women's mental health, yes, women do face unique challenges. It's to be approached at multi-dimensional level. And KAILASA is a model infrastructure, not only empowering women at all levels and medicine, and none of my patients need narco. And it's his initiation, empowerment of women. We do like get powerful life, whatever you are, like wherever your emotions and past traumas, building resilience and improving healthy relationship and leads to an empowered life. And there is a short video, listen from his powerful words and transforming message to all. Thank you.
The happy free life. All kinds of thought currents will come inside. Sit, have a little patience, listen to yourself and start penning down precisely what all resistance, anger, fear, guilt, powerlessness, what all is getting blurted out, vomited by your immature mind. Listen, pen down. This pattern, start completing. You will see me appearing in the mirror and making you completely complete and making you manifest powerful cognitions and powers. Till I appear in the mirror, continue completion. And I tell you, I will really appear in the mirror and make you complete and make you manifest powers. When I say, I mean to be internally, externally dependent on something else other than Paramashiva. Pen down. Pen down. Sit in front of mirror and start completing all patterns and incidents, root incidents, everything. Let all the incompletions.
Unique challenges for mental health. And we have the next slide. So I have here some of the fact sheets from World Health Organization. We'll quickly go over. 1 in 7, 10 to a 19-year-old experience mental disorders. And another alarming number is 13% of this is a global burden of disease in this age group. And suicide is the 4th leading cause of death number. We know that conventional approach have not been enough to address all these challenges. To address these challenges, it is crucial to address it at an early age. And prevention is one of, and be creative, and not force children into strict curriculum, nor evaluate them based on narrow rubrics. This mind-body consciousness-based education empowers children and helps them feel powerful, neurological functioning, and level of whole brain activation. This test is divided in two phases. First phase or copy phase, students are first asked to copy 12 images of various complexity. This copy phase reflects the student's visual motor intelligence and maturity. In second phase, recall phase, which is recall phase, students need to remember test measures a variety of capabilities, including comprehension, arithmetic, and visual motor capabilities. And these results showed 50% of students with total English immersion fell in intellectual and mental health and evidence of whole brain activation and high level of thinking. Policies need to change to integrate such education into conventional curriculum. And of course, as I said, more studies are needed for this evidence, but policies to change and integrate this education into conventional curriculum would be a good
leader in the study of mental health, of enlightenment, and of superconsciousness. And we very sincerely and formally and informally invite anyone who's interested in researching this possibility, this phenomena that I think is available here in ways it's not been described otherwise. We invite you to collaborate with us to participate in research. Of course, we would appreciate funding. As you can see, there's been remarkable research findings, and all the research we've published has been very remarkable, very outside of the ordinary findings. And we're very sure the more research we do, the more we're going to find things like this. So anyone who wants to collaborate, we'd love to talk to you. My email and to stay, we invite you to stay for our kriya, which will be led by Dr. Mukta Ananda. Shall I play the video, Mukta, or do you want to speak first?
Yes. Play the, I think, like I said before, kriya is a combination of yoga positions, yoga asanas, breathing techniques, and visualization. And Swamiji is
in this energy circulation. That is when you start developing diseases and disorders and disturbances. Disease, disorders, disturbances. Expresses itself.
Nerve circuit, the nervous system. Prana circuit, the respiratory system. Digestive circuit, excretory circuit, reproductive circuit, and energy circuit. Of these circuits, the energy circuit is governed, reaches the different parts of the body through the 72,000 nadis or energy channels. Let's say, for instance, there is a block somewhere in the circuit of pipelines. Then what happens? There is no flow of water. Kundalini energy, just as the water gets pumped in to the pipeline once the block is removed. When the energy flow is re-established, energy starts flowing and the disease is healed.
Now, if your body is put in certain position, that energy blockages get removed. The energy circulation, that plumbing, gets properly aligned. The wiring gets properly aligned. After that, the kumbhaka starts pumping the energy into that circuit. See, putting your body in certain asana makes the circuit, you are free. These kriyas are not just ordinary asana, ordinary yoga postures, ordinary kumbhaka, ordinary pranayama. It is like two different chemicals. Separately, if you take, it may take 10 years for you to cure the disease. But mixed properly in certain combination, it's called mantra. Externally, when you listen, it's called chanting. So, mantra, internal verbalization. Fifth, chanting, external, the sound you are hearing. And sixth, now I am adding.
Shall I start the music and then you'll announce the kriya?
Yeah, I can just walk everybody through the kriya. It's actually, the kriya has 3 steps. It's a kriya for hypertension, which also relieves one thing we learned. We're going to do that first. Then the second step is you sit in a special posture. Do we have a picture of that posture? There is a posture. I shared a picture yesterday. Do we have that in the slide?
This is the last slide, Mukta.
Okay. I think we need to bring that picture. If somebody can add that picture to the slide, to the next slide, that'll be great. So I've taught you unclutching like before. We started off the session with it. I taught you that alternate nostril breathing, and I taught humming. Now we're just going to put them all together into one long kriya meditation. That's super simple. So let's get started. Be powerful. It'll de-stress your entire body very beautifully. Okay, let's start with Nadi Shodhana. If Peter, you could play the music, with your thumb, close your right nostril, start breathing in. Then close your left nostril and breathe out through your right nostril. Then breathe in through your right nostril and then breathe out through your left. Do this 21 times. Play the music to Peter. Thanks. The intense, you will feel the intense humming, the coolness all over your body. Just lie down and unclutch from all thoughts. When you unclutch from your thoughts,
Open your eyes slowly and pause the music. You can find out for yourself. So I hope you can practice this meditation before going to sleep every day. It's very powerful, not only in de-stressing, but also in performing to your life's best.
United Nations going forward. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and have a beautiful rest of your evening.
Thank you so much.